Hey, you guys, welcome back to my channel. It is Ali, your favorite eccentric SLO-mad. Good morning, or well, good evening to you guys. It's morning my time. So, y'all, today, let me tell y'all what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about visas and onward tickets. Why? I talked about this before. If y'all have been following me, you know I talk about this. But for the newbies, people who are just starting this journey or just finding my page, following my travel journey, which has been going on for the past 6 years. Welcome, first of all, and welcome back to those who have been here with me. But if you find this information necessary, you need it, it's good, and you want other people to see it, please click the subscribe button, the notification bell, and leave me a comment. All right. But we're gonna be talking about travel. I'm talking about visas. I'm talking about onward tickets today. Keep it nice and simple, but it's something I've seen pop up on my For You pages across social media with people running into avoidable issues at the airport, primarily with either not paying attention to their visa information, the dates, the entry, not understanding how critical that stuff is in some places, many places, because as American citizens, I have to say this. This is an area where our complacency or pompousness or just assumptions that we don't need and it's not required start to kind of boil over the pot, so to speak. And so this video is to share with you guys some things that you need to know if you're getting ready to step out into the world, because I know many people are looking to make some transitions, and many have already started going down the path or just up and left. And so to help circumvent some of the issues that people are running into, once they get to the airport, once you're standing at the counter and the attendant or whoever is assisting you, trying to check you in, can't, and you're mad at them, y'all, it ain't their fault. A lot of times it's not their fault. And I want you to understand that when you have a culmination, a plethora of people starting to travel who are not really aware of how this whole thing works, people who are not necessarily used to this whole visa thing, not used to the rules of immigration, when you have that culminated with busy travel seasons, or just lines of people, and also dealing with the nuances of the job. Think about your job. Sometimes you can't change things. Sometimes you can't, you know, they can't do anything a lot of times. And sometimes they can, but it's all about how you present yourself. And so the more you know truly is the more you know, and the further you'll go. That's a new one I just threw in there. So anyway, let's talk today. First, I'm going to give you guys, because people have asked me this, one of my favorite places to go, because people are trying to leave, and whether it's for that vacation that they never took, honeymoon they never took, or just a trip to a place that they've always dreamed of, but they don't know where to start. They're dreaming and they want to get past the dreaming stage. I'm gonna give you some places. This is my top 6, and this has been my top 6 for the last probably year. Okay. And then I got some notables in there, because I have, by blessings, been to 51 countries, and some of them multiple times. Like, I'm in Thailand right now, which is currently my base, and I've been coming here for 7 years, and now it's kind of like, my return to spot. And so I technically kind of live here, and I have a DTV, which is a long-term 5-year visa. I can share with you how to get that. Go to my playlist. I got some information in there. But I've been doing this, and the information that I'm sharing, my level of expertise is based on my experience, things that I've experienced, people that I've advised, situations that I've seen, and things like that that can help circumvent. Hey guys, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you. Leave me a comment. I got African, I think that's what it says. Welcome. I was just in South Africa for my 3 months this year and just made it back over to Thailand. So, welcome. So, anyway, let's talk about. I'm going to give you guys my top six. My top six is Greece, Albania, Kenya, Thailand, Vietnam, and Colombia. My top six, like places that I would move to. Like now, I can see myself living here. I've lived in Vietnam. I've lived in Thailand. I've been to Greece like 5, 6 times and around the islands. Kenya, I was in. I lived in for half a year. Excuse me. Colombia, I didn't live in, but I was there for 2 to 3 months, and I would do it again because of the culture, and it's an amazing place. In Albania, I was frequenting. I didn't go back last year, but I had been going to Albania for the last maybe 3 years, from 2022. I started in 2023, and I was in and out and staying there for some time. So I loved it. Hey, Dia. I love Indonesia. Bali I've got family there. I haven't been in a few years, so I'm going to give you my notables because it's in my notables. Indonesia's in my notables. So Indonesia, we'll start there. I have Balinese family in Indonesia. Portugal is high on my list. Spain is another notable place that I love. Hungary is a newfound love when I did my European tour in 2024. South Africa is on the list of notables. Japan, I was pleasantly surprised with Tokyo. Pleasantly. So I want to go back and explore the other parts of the other regions via train. And lastly on my list is Italy. I probably have some more, but those are like my top 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, top 13. That's an odd number. I might add some more because, I am a little superstitious about odd numbers, especially. Anyway, all right. Well, let's add it together in a before, right? Okay, so let's get to it. Let's talk about visas right quick. So you guys, I'm going to talk about 3 continents and the visa variations and what you need to know about. Hey, Emma. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining. I'm going to talk about the visas, and I'm going to base most of my commentary on U.S. passport holders. And this is important to know because all passports are not created equal. They're not treated equal. And the importance or level of your passport, the power of your passport, really depends on your government. It really does. And I talk about this in other videos and things like that. And I may talk about it a little bit on here today because the things, they correlate, they collide. And to think that one thing has nothing to do with another is hogwash. Look at the last major issue that we had in 2020 with COVID. And you look at the ratings of the power of certain passports, specifically the U.S. passport, that just plummeted in terms of ranking and in the list of who has the most powerful passport. And by power, it means because people are like, well, what do you mean by power? It means the number of countries that you can enter without applying for a visa, or you can get visa on arrival, or e-visas pretty easy. In the United States, we could back in the day before 2020 enter 188 countries. Some we did require a visa, but our passageway was so much easier. That dropped all the way down to we were ranked like 140. I think we're kind of in there and moving back around. I do have a website that y'all can check. It's called passportindex.org. And you can literally click on passports and just see where the ranking is and all that good stuff. So I'm going to start with the EU, because so many people do like to go to Europe. And Europe is kind of broken into a myriad of groupings, right? So Europe is Europe, as well as the UK, which is separate, although it's like nestled in there, the Union, and then like Balkans, and then Asia, right? Before you get into the Asian continent, which is connected to the European continent. How they broke this up, it does not like follow. Hey Tate, what's up? I ain't find a Rolexes. I didn't find a Rolex. Anyway, this is the same Tate. Is this the right? This the Tate? I can't see your icon. Um, but if this is the Rolex Tate, let me know. Okay, so anyway, so for the EU, like I said, there's multiple levels to it. So pull out your map, y'all. I wish I had like my setup on here where I could just show you, split screen. Pull up a map, a real map, the map that really shows, the true configuration of the countries, right? When you pull up that map, there's the area that we consider to be Europe has varying visa requirements and rules per country, per area. So the Union has its one thing, and then there's little pockets of countries who are not part of the Union, and then other countries that are in that space that have different rules. I'm gonna run down it. The basic thing that most of us utilize is the 9180 Schengen rule, right? And that's because most of us are going to Greece and Italy and Spain and Portugal, right? Those are the places that we're typically going to. And then, we throw in, places like Hungary and Croatia and Montenegro and Slovenia and, Latvia and some of these other places in Norway and Sweden and Switzerland and Germany, and we just keep going, right? So you have all of these places that fall in the 29 country, or I think it's 29 countries now that are in the Union. And what that means, because Bulgaria was just added. So, and what that means is these are countries that have applied to be a part of the borderless group. So that means that they're vying for their citizens to be able to move around Europe without needing a visa. Basically, their citizens. So how we travel around the United States, the 50 states, countries in the United States, because each are governed separately. So technically we're countries. The 50 countries borderless. We have borderless entry, borderless borders. You drive across countries without, there's no, a lot of times, border control or anything like that. We just don't have that in the States. We go from state to state like it's nothing, right? And we talk about that a whole nother day. But in other countries, like the EU is conceptually, the Union is similar to the United States, which is a union of states that make up the overall country. But in their case, it's the countries that make up the overall continent, whatever. It's all the same concept. They just call it something different. And so when you're in that borderless area, you have 90 days that you can stay at one given time across the myriad of them within a 180-day period. And you're like, wait a minute, how do I calculate that? So I have a calculator that does all the work for me. I can give you that information too. And basically you have to do a running tally of your 90 and 180 days. Even if you're bopping across countries, it doesn't reset per se if you're within the union. It's all that 90/180. So within 90 days, you can hit as many countries as you want and not need to apply for anything that are within that union. Okay. It doesn't subtract until you hit 180 days. As you hit 180 days, your 90 days start to subtract, and then you get more days added on, right? So if you're at day 80, but you're hitting day 170 on the 6-month calendar, the 180-day calendar. You can't say 6 months. You got to say days. Then you literally have like 10 more days before it resets, and you only have, however many days left on that 90. So you can either exit entirely and come back and reset after the 180 days, because it does carry, y'all. Or, leave, go somewhere else for 90 days, and then come back and do a full 90 to restart. So that's important to know. So I'm going to give you guys a couple countries that I gave you, like some of the ones that are in that 29. Let me give you some countries that are next door to Croatia, Bulgaria, nestled in there, that follow a different set of rules. And one is on my favorite list, and that's Albania. Albania is a Balkan country. It's considered Balkans. It's East Europe. To us, it's Europe. It really is. I mean, because it's within the continent. So it's within the landmass, which is defined as a continent. Anyway, it's not a body of water that separates it. So within that, okay, it's a little straight, but anyway, within that, Albania allows U.S. passport holders to enter visa-free for 365 days. And then you just leave and you come back and reset. And it's all electronic, so there are no stamps or anything like that, so you have to keep track. And why I say you have to keep track is because it's outside of the EU, it's outside of the Union. And then you can go to Italy by ferry or Greece by ferry. And what happens is when you enter Italy or Greece by ferry from Albania, sometimes they have a hard time calculating when you enter the country because there is no stamp. So I give tips on what you need to do. Keep your boarding pass. Keep your boarding pass when you enter countries that are along borders of places that have different rules, especially if you know you're going to be bouncing around via plane. Usually plane is the easiest way, but when you're bouncing around via a bus and they don't check at borders, typically the only border they check at is Germany. One of the borders that they check at is Germany. When you're, doing a European tour, you have to know, or they're going to ask you, or be frustrated, as my immigration officer was frustrated with me when I went from Albania to Corfu, Greece on a $20 ferry, and couldn't understand it because I live and travel full time. So they couldn't understand why I hadn't been in the United States. And it's because I don't live in the United States. I visit the United States, and they couldn't understand it. She was so angry and so frustrated, and there was nothing I could explain to her, So keep your boarding pass, because your boarding pass at least shows when you entered into the previous country before you jump on, a different mode of transportation. So Albania is one of those places. And then I'm going to mention Turkey, because Turkey is in both continents, Europe and Asia, which is so interesting because Turkey is further east than Albania, but Albania is not part of the EU, and that's because they have to apply. So Turkey is not part of the EU per se, because they get their own 90 days, and they have a 90-day, and then you have to leave. Like, you got to be gone for another 90 days before you can re-enter. So there is no bounce in and out with Turkey. FYI, it's good to know, right? Because once you get there, it's easy to stay for 90 days because it's a really nice place. Lots of cities, varying cities, different levels of kind of culture and experience. And so I do recommend it. There's nuances about Turkey. if you want to know more, type Turkey. 2027, you go on the top. Okay. When? Where? You hit me up. Hit me up. We gotta talk. All right. So let me move over to Asia, since I'm kind of bordering on Asia. When you're in Turkey, you could take a ferry over to the Asia side, or you could take the metro. There's a train that goes underneath the water. Oh, can you hear the fan? I don't have my mic on, but the fan is on because it's hot. So thank you for saying that. Let me go get my mic. Uno momento. Please be entertained for a moment. All right, I've returned. See, in that quick amount of time, how much I've sweated. Because it's hot. It's hot in Thailand, y'all. And this is rainy season. Okay, so I'm gonna put my mic on. Tell me. Sorry about that, y'all. Put the mic on. Uno momento. I was gonna do it before I went live, but I was like, oh no, you don't need it, because the fan is so light. At least to me, I can't hear it at all. Okay, tell me if that's better, because I'll be hard pressed to have to turn this fan off because it's hotter than dog meat. And the AC unit is in there, so I'd have to like relocate. Is that much better? You said perfect. Okay, I'm gonna take it. Oh yeah, it's hot. It's hot. The glisten, the glow up, the bonjour is real here. I love it though, because it's great for my natural hair. It's great for our skin. I be in the sun, but you do need to protect. So the whole thing, Asia did damage my skin tremendously. I like to be a little glossy. Actually, okay, yeah, my forehead is a little wet. Okay. One moment. Hold on. Yeah, I gotta get my team to get me right. It's my team over here. It's my team. Okay, so what was I saying? I was getting into Asia. Oh no, you were asking, is it really hot? Yes, so we are actually in rainy season, or the beginning of rainy season, which is like from May to October, depending on the region that you're in Thailand. So when you come is really, really important based on what it is you're trying to do. If you're trying to city hop, or if you're trying to do different types of activities outside, whether it's water activities and stuff like that. So like this is the time of year, because we're going into June. This is the time of the year where you would expect, or there's an assumption that Phuket and the coastal cities that are on the Indian Ocean, that's the Indian Ocean over there, right? Get hit, because this is when you look at weather patterns, like they're getting hit. They're getting rain all the time, but it's like Florida rain. Sometimes there's flooding, and sometimes it's worse, different days, but it goes away and they recover really easily. It's kind of like being in Vietnam. They get flooded and then they recover like in a couple of days, and you would never almost really know that they were flooded. I mean, you'll know, but that happens like in Vietnam. It's mostly in November, October, November, like the end of October, I should say. So you really want to know where you're going. And that's why, like, when I do my consultations with people, I have an intake form, and I do ask you to tell me about what it is that you're wanting to do, not just travel, but are you trying to, explore, and are there certain attractions, things that you have to, like, this is a must do for my trip. So those are the things I like to know. I want to hit the markets and water activities. Okay, so let's talk. Because it also depends on which city you want to go to. And I always recommend more than one if you've got the time, as well as hitting up another country that is in proximity. Because when you come way over here from the States, now let's see, I can do another video talking about that as well. But when you come all the way over here from the States, because this is not an easy flight for us, and it's pretty long and oftentimes more costly than, it is for Europeans or even Russians to come here. And Russia's in Asia, y'all. So I'm going to talk about Asia in a minute. So it's a lot more work for us to make it over to this side. So to get the bang for your buck, I always recommend minimum 2 countries visit when you come. Okay. All right. So let's get to Asia visas. So in Asia, I'm just going to run down the list, y'all. I had to write it down. So these are all places that I have been to, except one. Okay. Two that I haven't been to, but I know what the visa requirements are. So this is going to let you see how much variance there is between countries that are on the same continent, and why it's important for you to know the visa rules and requirements. And don't just assume because you have a US passport, you're smooth. You can enter, there's no question, or there's no problem, or thinking that because your agent, whoever is helping you book, reach out to me if you want somebody who's got firsthand experience. And yes, I do charge consultations and stuff like that. I don't do it for free anymore. I used to, but if you want someone who's going to truly advise you on things, including visas and not just booking flights and hotels, make sure you go with someone who has some experience and asks those particular questions. Because like I mentioned on my Instagram yesterday, one of the things that I've seen in a lot of my For You pages on social media is people being so upset with airline staff and, immigration or whatever the case may be, because they didn't know. You cannot travel abroad as an adult saying, I didn't know, right? It is nobody's responsibility. I'm going to just be like real about this. It's nobody's responsibility. I don't care who you paid. If you pay somebody to book a flight for you, book a trip for you, and you assume that, well, they didn't tell me that I needed a visa, and that's your excuse, it doesn't matter. You can't enter. You can't enter unless it's a visa on arrival place and they allow you to apply for your visa when you get there as an American citizen, US passport holder, or whatever passport you have. Unless you have that, if you need to apply for a visa in advance and have the visa before you get to the booth, the departing airline will not even let you board. So you heard it here first. Okay. So let's talk about Asia. So I'm going to just kind of go down the list. I already mentioned Turkey. Turkey, we do not need a visa. We get 90 days in Turkey. So you can mull around the country, both on the east and the European and Asia side. You don't need a separate. It's so cool because it's like, okay, that's why it's their own 90, 180 rather than the 90, 180 kind of shin. It is, but it ain't. Like it counts separate from it. So we got Turkey. Eh? We also have India. Yes, you do need a visa. I've applied for their tourist visa, and you get a year. It's $40 for a whole year. I thought I was going to say for 3 months. We'll talk about India another time. Sri Lanka, I have not been to, but we do need a visa, and it's valid for 30 days. China, we do need a visa, but it is a 10-year long-term visa. We get to stay, I believe, only 90 days. days. I need to check because it may have changed. It's either 30 or 90 days in China, but it's 10 years. And y'all, I think it's only like $125. It may have gone up. I had to expedite mine and it only cost me $175 and I got it back in like 4 days. You do have to send your passport in. So you need it before you even get to China. You have to have it. They put the sticker inside your passport. So you can't even leave the country because you won't have your passport. All right. That's a 10-year visa. And I still have, mine doesn't expire until next year. So I plan on going back to China before it expires. Thailand, no visa is required. But y'all, I heard just like this week that immigration or Thailand government just changed the 60-day visa free to 30 days. And they do this often. That's why it's always important to check immigration websites to get firsthand information. When that date is, when it's changing, I don't know if it's already changed or they're planning on changing it. Usually they give a day when they're going to, like, anybody entering after this period of time is only going to get 30 days. But when the season changes again, they're going to increase it to 60 days. So usually during rainy season, they'll drop it because I feel like this is me speculating. I feel like it's because this is the cheapest time of the year to come. And so you might not be getting the best quality visitors, which we have seen in the news. I mean, I'm here and most of the people who cause problems are people who are traveling here from other places and doing whatever they want. And they make it, they make the country less desirable for those of us who are coming to uplift and the country, visit the country, explore, expand, and learn about the culture and stuff like that. And they take advantage of local people. And so I think that's part of it because most people are only staying 7 to 14 days. So giving them 60 days and then, you know, they're not necessarily helping the communities. They're, you know, causing more havoc. It's just not good. But when busy season comes, I can guarantee you they'll move it back to 60. That's just how it is. That's how things work. So just know that it's fluid. Okay. Vietnam, we do have to apply for a visa. I think it's only $25 for a single entry or $50 for multi-entry. And we get 90 days in Vietnam. They have you could do a day run to a neighboring country, Cambodia, Laos. Most people go to Laos, pop in, use the service if you want. It's really inexpensive. They take you on a limousine bus, guide you through the process to walk over the border, get your stamps, come back, and you're good. Vietnam doesn't care, but they don't have long-term visas either. Okay, at least not right now. Cambodia, yes, we need a visa and it's good for 30 days. Laos, yes, we need a visa. It's good for 30 days. Singapore, no visa. It's good for 90 days. Malaysia, no visa. It's good for 90 days. Korea, no visa, good for 90 days. Japan, no visa. It's good for 90 days. Indonesia, yes. I think we don't need a visa, but we can stay for 30 days. The last time I went, I didn't need a visa, but we can only stay for 30 days. And I don't know what their in and out rule is because I haven't been in Indonesia longer than 8 or 9 days. And then the Philippines, no, we don't need a visa, but we only get 30 days. So that's a thing with Asia. All right, I don't know. So I'm gonna delete. Okay. You guys, so welcome. If this is your first time, please click that subscribe button and notification bell, and leave me a comment. Hey, Jana, welcome to my channel. I'm talking about some visas, the information that you need to know. Oh, sorry about that, y'all. I'm house sitting, and so looking at a photo of somebody who lives in a house. My apologies. So anyway, the important thing to know about Asia, and that wasn't even all of the Asian countries, like there's quite a few more, but these are the ones that I've primarily been to, with a few extras that I want to go to and just haven't been to yet. And so it's important to know what the rules and requirements are. Do you need, asks you your date of arrival? And let's say you along do your visa in advance, because you can do it, Vietnam in December. I got the date of arrival. And as long as my arrival is after that initial date of arrival, the visa is good, right? You just lose days within that, because it's only going to give you 90 days. So if you do a visa in advance and you change your flight and you're 45 days within that and you keep that same visa, it's still valid, but you only get to stay 45 days. It's not going to tack on another 40. Your visa is only good for that 90-day period. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. Also just understanding that that entry date and the entry port for Vietnam is, wow, they are really particular about that. So let's say you're flying in from Thailand and you put Da Nang as your entry, but you fly into Ho Chi Minh first or Hanoi first. They may have a problem with that. Like your departing airline may have a problem with that, and they have to go through this entire process to make sure that it's valid. So that stuff is really important. It's important to know. If you need help with that, I think I either have a video in my playlist for it, or I can do one for you guys. Okay, so now let's get to Africa. Again, if there's any questions about any of those in particular, put the continent in the comments. Like if you want to know more about EU Union, put EU. If you want to know more about Asia, put Asia. Then we're going to go to Africa, and I'm just going to give you a few for Africa. Africa is another big continent. It's not a country, y'all. It's a continent. And within that continent, they are set up like Europe. They have multiple countries. They have 54 countries. Yeah, 54 roundabout. But again, very similar to the United States as a continent. North America is a continent, which includes Canada. But each of our states, is part of the full union, giving us borderless entry. So what you'll see in Africa is they are starting to come to life. Thank God. They are starting to own their own borders, own how they want to run their countries within the continent. And I love to see it. While it may put more restrictions on us as U.S. passport holders, even as a diasporan, even though it may put some, more guidelines than I really want, I think it needs to happen. I think Africa has to take control, kick out the people that they don't want in there, and open the doors to who they want. Okay. But with that, bearing that in mind, every single country has a different set of rules. So I'm going to start with, so these are all the places. Let me see. Are these all the places I've been to? These are all places that I have been to. So I know specifically about their visa rules and policies. And then there's quite a few others. And I'll even list one that changed within this last administration because of something the administration did to them. And I say, you know what, tit for tat, do it. Okay, so Africa, I'm going to start with Kenya. And I need to check, y'all. So this is what I mean by go and check the rules yourself. So when I went to Kenya over the border from Tanzania, and I went on a visa. I did apply for a visa before I went, and you get 90 days. Somewhere in between when I went in 2021 and now, they had kind of changed that to no visa required or visa on arrival. Any diasporan or whatever, you can enter the country. I don't know if that has since changed with all the mayhem and stuff that's been going on. So please check the immigration site to get today's specifics. I should have did that before I jumped on here, but I didn't. But what I will say is back then you could apply for an extension at no price, at no cost. So the visas at that time were $25, and then you could apply for a 90-day extension, which is what I did when I was there, and there was no cost for that. And you just get an extension tacked on to your current 90 days. So that's fantastic. Tanzania is another one, y'all. That's where I went for after I was in Mexico for in 2021. And I stayed about 9 months, but you guys, we get visa. We do need to apply for a visa. You can do it when you arrive. I strongly encourage you to just apply on the embassy website before you go, because there's a lot of people who do visa on arrival who can do it, and you'll be standing in the line. It's not like a really robust system. At least it wasn't when I was there. And so you're going to extend your time in the airport going through immigration when you don't need to. Just apply for the visa. It's really quick. At that time, it was $50. It's $100. It was $100 then to apply on arrival. So save you a little bit of coin. 50 online. And it's good for a year for U.S. citizens. But caveat, you do have to leave every 90 days. So you can border hop, and you could easily do like the Eastern countries who have kind of a union border situation. That's Uganda, Rwanda, Kenya, Tanzania, that little nucleus area over there, which is pretty easy to move around, especially via bus if you don't want to fly. And a lot of people do it anyway because they do what is it, Serengeti or the Mara, whatever in Kenya. So all the safaris and stuff, and then there's safaris in Tanzania. I will say definitely if you want to save a little bit of coin, do Mikumi National Park. You're gonna see the top, the big five or whatever they call them. They're there too. They got one big rhino, at least one. He's in a cage thingy in a fence, but he out there. But yeah, so we get a full year, 90 days at a time stay, and all you got to do is bounce in or out. Or if you want to know more about other ways, hit me up. I'm going to jump over to Senegal, to the West Coast. So that was on the east side. Now I'm on the west side. Senegal, we do not need a visa, and you get 90 days visa-free entry into Senegal. Fantastic. Cabo Verde, Cape Verde, as many people refer to it, is the westernmost, westernmost country, set of islands in Africa. And you don't need a visa per se, but you have to have an entry. It's like the entry form, the ESS or the ESAs or the ETAs, all of those entry requirement forms that you have to fill out before you enter into a country. And I kind of didn't talk about that, but I'll mention that a little bit. They do charge a fee. It's like $11 or $12 based on how long you're staying. Well, we only get 30 days, but then you can apply for an extension. So there'll be a little bit more cost to that. But mine came out to, I think it was like $12 or something. So it's not a visa per se. It's an entry fee that you pay, similar to what the EU was doing with their ESS or whatever they're calling it, their entry tracking form. Basically, anybody who's coming into the country, they want you to fill out the form, which is attached to your health documentation, where you've been, if you've encountered any sickness, illness, disease, animals, so on and so forth, your health registration. So it's usually attached to those. So that's what you need for Cabo Verde. For South Africa, we do not need a visa. We could stay for 90 days, which I have done for 2 years, and been around Cape Town and Joburg numerous times. I probably went to Joburg 4 times. I haven't been to Durban yet, but next time I go to South Africa, I will be going to Durban. I did go to Zimbabwe over the border. It's pretty easy. And then my last one I'm going to mention is Morocco. We do not need a visa, and you get 90 days, if I'm not mistaken. I need to check on that one. And so there are places that we can enter, and those are just the ones that I know of, so that I've been to. I'm going to give you one that literally just changed their rules last year. Actually, when I was in Cape Town, I was going to go to Namibia. And the United States administration basically went on full attack in African countries and basically eliminating any access to the US border. And so some of the African countries responded in like, as they should, because there are a number of illegal immigrants from the United States living in many African countries, many South American countries, in Europe. We all over the place, and don't really get accounted for, right? And so there were a number of them, I think 800 or so, still in Namibia illegally. 500 to 800, let's say that, because I don't know the exact number. And Namibia said, okay, they got to go. And rightfully so, they got to go. And we could go to Namibia, y'all, for 90 days visa free. Now we have to pay for a visa. I mean, I was so like agitated. It's like $45. And I was just like, dang it, I should have gone. And I was going to go last year and I didn't. I was planning and I was going to go with a friend who we ended up being in South Africa at the same time, and I didn't. But now we have to pay, and it is what it is. So you pay and you have to go. Zimbabwe does require a visa. It's for me $45. One of my friends went and used her Belize passport. This is what I mean by these governments. She didn't have to pay to go to Zimbabwe. What is the relationship? What's the correlation? And you only get 30 days. Tanzania, or Tanzania, as I try to say, because some people say it's like not Tanzania. Anyway, say it however you want. People who have a Jamaican passport do apply for a visa, but they don't have to pay for it. So what's the relationship with Jamaica? So these are the things that are important to note. So if you are a dual passport holder and you have passports in other places, go and look up on passportindex.org. Look up your ranking, your passport, your power of your passport. And then I have another site that you can go on and basically you can type in, you should be able to do it on passportindex.org, but type in your passport and where you want to go, and it'll tell you what the requirements are. So if you've got another passport that may have a little bit of power, or you're like, oh, it's such a small place, it's not going to have any power. Imagine that a Belize passport has more power over an American passport in an African country. So don't knock it, check it, right? That's all I'm saying. Be informed. The more you know. The more you know, the easier you go. I'm going to put that on the shirt. Go to my my apparel page and please buy it. Let me give you a couple others. Mozambique, you need a visa. Back when I was going to go to Mozambique, the visa was 30 days for $269. Hence, I did not go. Madagascar, I believe we can enter. I think we need a visa for Madagascar. I'm thinking of some other places. Egypt. Egypt, we do need a visa. It was $45 and we can stay 30 days. And it's really easy to get. It takes maybe a day or two to get the visa for Egypt. 30 days or 90. Because I don't know if it changed. I went in 2021 for 3 weeks and loved it. I will be going back to Egypt. Don't let anybody tell you not to go, even as a solo woman, because I went as a solo Black woman to Egypt, and I had a blast. I ended up meeting some people there, and like I said, I had a blast. All right, so those are some of my African countries. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones that I want to mention. I have not been to Ghana or Nigeria. I know you need a visa for Ghana, and it's a more extensive process. So check that, because I know things are very fluid in the region as well in terms of visa and visa application, with a lot that's going on with diaspora, with changing of visa options if you buy property. And there's a lot of different programs and organizations where people are getting an opportunity to buy condos and different things like that. So please check into it if you're interested. Okay, so let me talk a little bit about the ETAs, or entry requirements, tracking that they have. When you are buying your airline ticket, so anybody who's like, oh, I didn't know I needed this, I didn't know whatever. This is like back in the day when you used to travel to a different country and they would give you the piece of paper on the airline and ask you to fill it out, your family information, all that, where you're going to be staying. And you hand it to immigration and they do the little slip, and you're supposed to keep the other half. And when you leave, most places have gone paperless and everything is electronic. So it's basically the same exact information on an electronic form with your health information added to this. Like, have you been to any of these countries in the last 6 months, last 2 weeks, whatever the case may be? Have you been around livestock? Have you, certain fruits, stuff like that? They ask you those kinds of questions, right? And they want to know where you're staying, because should there be an outbreak, or they find out that somebody, hantavirus, and you were on the same vessel, which is why they ask you your vessel number. If you were on the same vessel as someone who was, reported by CDC or whatever they want to call it, whichever organization, they literally will contact every person that was on that vessel, or, in between a certain time. Because even with the cleaning, they want to know anybody who was on it 24 hours before, 24 hours after, and they contact you. And so that's primarily the reason for wanting that information. So you want to be as accurate as possible. Please give a valid phone number, or at least an email address where they can reach you. And a lot of people, when they're filling it out, sometimes you fill out your ETA, but you don't have accommodations, but it wants accommodations. Usually what I say is go and book a hotel that is refundable. Put the address that you have for your booking to get either your visa, because sometimes a visa address is required for your visa. But what if your visa isn't approved? So you book this hotel and you can't get a refund. Always book the stuff with where it's refundable. Okay, book things that are refundable, and then if you change your mind, you can get a refund, and then book something, a different accommodation. So there's no requirement that you have to stay at the place that you booked when you applied for your visa, but a lot of times they do require an address. You fill in an address. Each country has a different set, has their own requirement. Some countries, when you come in, they have a QR code. So when you're lining up for immigration, it'll big, bold, have you filled this out? Have you filled this out? Y'all don't know how many countless times I've watched people stand in line for 30 minutes, 2 hours sometimes, and get up to the counter and see the agent, the immigration officer, point at the QR code for the entry form that has to be filled in, and that person not have it, and they send them all the way back. Imagine if you are in a line for a couple of hours, which I have been in a line for over 2 hours before, because they don't have global entry in other countries. That's something else that we also need to understand as Americans, is a lot of times, not all places have fast tracking. A lot of places don't have global entry. They don't recognize our global entry. Our global entry is for re-entry into the United States. So there is not going to be global entry in any other country. Now, is there going to be like TSA fast track, like our TSA pre-check, stuff like that? Yes. Some countries you can, including Thailand, you can pay for the fast track service where somebody comes and meets you and fast tracks you through the immigration process. But I mean, honestly, unless it's busy season, which I would potentially use it because I think it's only $30 or $40. Unless it's a season like that, it's not necessary in my opinion, because you kind of go pretty fast. They're pretty fast moving when it comes to your immigration process, visa entry, and all that, including when you have a DTV. So I always make sure they know I have a DTV, even if I fill it out in the registration, to make sure that they stamp me properly and give me my 6 months. The other thing to note is there are places, like I said, when you come in, you'll see the QR code, and it's so easy to fill out. So for example, when you go into Singapore, you fill it out immediately. Like, you can do it beforehand. I think you could do it 72 hours up to, going through immigration. You can do it while you're on the plane. You can do it after you land. They won't limit you like that. And then for us in Singapore, it's an automation. We're one of the countries that get to go through the automated booths, but you got to have it filled out. And some people will say, well, they never even asked me for it. I did all of that and they didn't ask you, because you put your passport number. So it automatically, when they send you the approval, it that quick goes to their system and links with your passport. So when you go through the automation and you think you're just scanning, it's actually reading and it's tying the two together. That's why they don't ask you for it. They don't need to ask you for it, because when they pull it up on the screen, they get a check mark that says, yes, they filled out the registration form. That's how that works, y'all. Because I get people all the time like, they didn't ask me for it. They're not going to ask you for it. They don't need to ask you for it. That's what technology is, y'all. All right, so now let's quickly talk about flight and onward tickets. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. There are some countries that will require you to show that you are leaving. That's the nicest way to put it. Some people say they want to know if you have an onward ticket to where you're going next or that you're going home. They want to know you're leaving. They don't care where you're going. They want to make sure that you're leaving. Well, there are systems that people have created just to get around that. And why do those of us who travel all the time advocate that? Because you're just like, well, I mean, you're kind of, you're not really leaving. You're just getting this tool so that you can bypass the system that says you have to have something formal. And it's because a lot of times you'll go to these places, different countries that, and you may be planning on hopping around. You don't have, you get 90 days, for example, in Europe. There's an assumption you're going to bop around. So there's like one country in the EU that is going to ask you for a return ticket. I've seen Albania ask, oh, so where are you going? When are you going back to the States? And I'm like, I don't know. I have 365 days. I don't know. And they're like, oh, okay. I don't know. Your government gives me 365 days. So I didn't buy a ticket, And if they say, well, you have to have one, I have moved over to the side before and booked because I forgot, like I'm going to a place like in South America. There are a number of places like Colombia, Ecuador, different places like that require you have an onward ticket before they even will allow you to even check in. They won't check you in. They'll ask you to move to the side. Go on this site called onwardticket.com. Buy a ticket. $14.99 is good for 48 hours. Or you can pay a little bit more, I think $36, and it's good for 1 or 2 weeks, I think 14 days. And that's if you know you're going to be bouncing around and you're going to be kind of in and out and going through different immigration checkpoints, and you want to have something that'll show that you have an onward ticket. Do the 14-day one, right? It's worth it. And basically it puts in the system that you have a seat on a particular flight on a particular day, and it is completely valid. And that's all that they need, right? The other thing you can do if you're like, yeah, I don't want to do that. Why would I spend $14, $15 on a flight, and then I lose it? I don't have a real flight. Well, only time that really matters is if your flight would have been $9, which don't knock it, because you can get a $9 flight. If you are on WOW Air or even LATAM is not as cheap, but Wizz Air, they have a lot of really cheap tickets. I flew in from Albania to Pisa, Italy, for $9. Well, it was like 17 after taxes or whatever. But yeah, $9 flights. It's true. It happens. But I didn't need an onward ticket for that. I could stay as long as I wanted because it said within the 90, 180 days, and I wasn't in violation, so I was good. But it's important to know about these caveats and things and tools that you can use so that you're not stressing going, because I saw somebody, just literally saw a video where this lady was like, oh, she was booking her flights and stuff and she's coming to Asia and she doesn't know, and she's like, well, maybe I can't go to a place, and she mentioned a place, and I was like, well, if you haven't applied for your visa for India, you need to apply for your visa before because it's required. You can't just pop in. They're not going to let you go. So don't buy a ticket. Apply for your visa because it took me less than 24 hours to get my visa to India. And like I said, it was good for a year and it was only $40. But you don't want to, kind of play those kinds of games, especially in the temperament that we're in right now. The other option I will tell you, if you're like, well, I really don't like that, then go ahead and book a ticket. I'm going to tell you who to book your ticket with. Find an airline or a third party, like trip.com, expedia.com, Hopper, where they offer refundable tickets, 24-hour refundable tickets, or you pay a little extra, $4.99, $7.99, whatever, to hold your ticket, basically, where you not hold it, basically you book the ticket and you can get a refund. You can request a refund, full 100% refund within whatever the allotted time is that you purchased, right? And so you could go ahead and buy a ticket, say, you might want to go somewhere else first, or you want to show you're going back to the US. I'm telling you, you guys, they are not forcing you to show that you're going back to the United States. They just want to know that you're leaving their country. And sometimes some countries require that it is outside of their border countries. So they don't want you border hopping. South Africa is kind of like iffy about that. I didn't have a problem last year when I went to Zimbabwe and popped back in, and they reset my 90 days, gave me a whole new 90. I was still leaving when I was leaving, but they reset me. It really depends. It's up to the immigration officer that you receive. So you could be like, oh, the person next to me had no problem. We were together and they only gave me this many days, or they gave me a hard time and pulled me into the back room. Why? It's up to their discretion, you guys. Same as it's up to the United States discretion to do what we do to people. Other countries, it's up to their discretion. So I always say, put on your best behavior, your best attitude, be as informed as you possibly can be, get the information. It's all available to you. All you have to do is go on this one tool, this platform called Google. Yeah, I'm being funny and facetious here, but serious. Go on Google and Google the stuff. And even AI will give you close enough information that you can then go and verify what AI will tell you, right? So booking your flights, or not booking onward tickets, use onwardticket.com or Expedia, trip.com, something like that, where you get a 24-hour cancellation. Lusana, I think, does it too. I'm not a fan of that airline, but just find an airline that will give you 24-hour cancellation, full refund, without even buying a fully refundable. You could buy an economy ticket and you can cancel it within 24 hours. To do something like that, if you need to show an onward ticket, and you could do it literally before your flight. While you're sitting in the airport, you got to go through check-in. So, before you get to the airport, go ahead and book that flight so that you can get through check-in, and then cancel it once you get through security. You're good to go. And the last thing I'm going to mention on this video is a tool to use for booking your flights, because everybody, recently, a lot of people have been asking me which airlines to fly. And it's really discretionary. It's up to you. But if you want sites that are going to show you like the wide range of, this one piece of hair, wide range of available airlines and routes, and give you from low to high options in terms of cost, use skyscanner.com. A lot of people use Google Flights, but I'm going to tell you, you could do a side-by-side comparison of Google Flights and Skyscanner. What you will see is you will see different flights available on Google Flights versus Skyscanner. But when you find a flight that is the same, almost 9 times out of 10, it's going to be more expensive on Google Flights. Why that is, obviously they have an arrangement. They get more of a cut for you using their platform. And I'll leave a tip in my shorts about booking your flights, on third parties. Check my shorts. I'll give you a tip on how to do that. All right, you guys. So that's my spiel for today. That's the Visa and Onward ticket deal. So that you are not alarmed, you are informed, you know what to expect, and you aren't taking it out on the staff at the airport, because remember, those people hold your destiny in their hands. They can deny you entry onto an aircraft if they feel in the least bit threatened. And I would do the same. So be prepared, be informed, so that you don't have issues before you even get to your destination. And we could talk about other destination-based type tips and things like that if you guys want them. Leave me a comment, you guys. All right, I'm gonna get out of here. That's my spiel for today. Thank you guys for joining. Please click that subscribe button, that notification bell, leave me a comment, and I will see y'all on the next go round. Y'all know the drill. Toodles and noodles. Peace and hair grease.